Welcome back. This month's theme is experiencing our faith. Last week we discussed how knowing and experiencing God in our lives leads us to trust Him. God is extraordinary. There is no way that we will ever be able to say that we have figured out why or how God does what He does. It's too unfathomable, amazing, and mysterious for us to comprehend. Perhaps you've heard the expression, God calls ordinary people to live extraordinary lives. However, as ordinary people, we can't do it on our own. Today we're focusing on one ordinary person, Elijah. In James 5, we read that Elijah was a man with a nature like ours. But God had a plan for this ordinary man, to once again bring the Israelites back to God. The nation had been divided in two, and King Ahab was reigning in Israel. His biography in 1 Kings says, he took for his wife Jezebel, and went and served Baal, and worshipped him. Ahab did more to provoke the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger than all the kings of Israel who were before him. Not only did the king worship idols, but all the people did as well. So God sent a drought to the land and told Elijah to go into hiding. God helps in extraordinary ways. During the drought, Elijah had no way of providing food for himself. But God provided water from the brook and sent ravens to feed him. But soon the drought affected the brook, and it dried up as well. When has this happened in your life? You feel you're doing everything God asks, and then your water dries up, and the ravens no longer come. We can't forget that God helps us in extraordinary ways. And sometimes those ways change when we least expect it. Are we flexible enough to allow God to help us in new ways? Pause the video and read 1 Kings, the 17th chapter, in the 8th through the 24th verses. What an amazing story. First, Elijah is sent to a Gentile town. Second, the woman God commanded to feed him has no food. And third, her son becomes ill and dies. But each time, God provides. We can't lead extraordinary lives on our own. It's only possible through the grace and provision of God. Let's continue the story. The drought has gone on for 3 years, and King Ahab and the Israelites are still worshiping Baal. They still can't see that this idol isn't able to provide for them. Let's face it, the idols we build ourselves today will never come through for us either, whether they be businesses or bank accounts. We have to remember that God has a plan for us, and that this is what makes our lives extraordinary. He wants us to spend eternity with Him, so much so that He sent His Son to die for us and reconcile our broken relationship. But it is a struggle, and we are constantly called to grow and mature. If we trust in Him, He'll give us the strength required to experience the fulfillment of His plan. Pause the video again and read 1 Kings, the 18th chapter, and the 16th through the 39th verses. Elijah challenges the priests of Baal to prove their God is living, but they can't. When it comes to the God of Israel, though, the fire of the Lord even licked up the water in the trench. Sometimes our voice is 1 against 450. But in these moments, God can do extraordinary things through us for His glory. Through Elijah, God turned the Israelites' hearts back to Him. As we come to the end of our session, let's look at a passage from Romans 12. In the Message version, it reads, "So here's what I want you to do. God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life. You're sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for Him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what He wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops well-formed maturity in you. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. When those 450 voices are against you, when you're being questioned about your faith, challenged about decisions, or even mocked for doing the right thing, fix your attention on God. Because in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him. With confidence in the One who does all things well, even in the midst of adversity, you can live a life that is extraordinarily led by Him.